All right, Aaron, stop brushing your fucking beard, bro. It's weird.
My bad.
I also don't have one, so I don't know.
Yeah, just because you don't have one doesn't mean you got to be jealous all the time, bro.
I can't help myself, bro. But so I wanted to do an interview with you. I'm doing JV and Mary Claire also, just so that people can know you on a more personal level. Is that cool?
Yep.
Cool. So at the end of this, what do you want people to know about you?
Just what makes me tick as a human being and sort of my little quirks that I have. But it all depends on the line of questioning, truly.
Not an issue, right? So let's start with the podcast itself. Number one, why are you on it?
Honestly, because you proposed it as an idea, even though I proposed a podcast some like 4 years ago. Totally different premise, but similar concept of me, you, and JV. Mary Claire wasn't on board in my original concept, but then you brought it up as a means of sort of getting together, talking, because as Corona is going on, we don't really get that opportunity to kind of see each other. And so this podcast is kind of a weekly check-in that could also turn into something that could be monetized.
So I agree with that 100%. Is your goal to get it monetized, or is your goal as doing this as a hobby?
I would like to get it monetized, but I think my initial thing that I brought up to you is that I would want it to be fun first, like, because it's not going to be immediately monetized. There's not going to be money involved. So The worst thing to do is to work for free and not enjoy working for free.
Well, no, because at that point, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
So I agree with that 1,000%. So a lot of people, when I get feedback about you on the podcast, say you don't talk enough. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
It's the same thing. And if anybody watches episode 11, please do. You'll kind of see my explanation on this a little further. But my thing is, I have a fear of judgment, and a lot of times I'll lose my train of thought in the middle of a sentence. And
in the middle of JD's rant.
Yeah. And if I'm not fully focused on that sentence, I fear that it's just going to trail off and not make any sense. And so that usually ends up keeping me from saying anything, because usually JV or Mary Claire are sort of going and going and going, and I've lost that thought already.
So that's fair, right? Because the people want to hear from you more. So we got to figure out a way for JV and Mary Claire to dominate less.
Right.
So we can hear from you more. Your thoughts are very profound when you speak. You speak with confidence. And the people really, really love hearing from you. They just don't hear from you enough. So let's work on that.
Right. Okay.
All right. So now, Aaron, specifically, what are you passionate about,
bro? Same thing I said in the first episode. You can see these posters right here. I love comic book movies.
Okay.
I love sports. Let me see if I can find something. Boom. Fan of the greatest team in the world.
Garbage. That's garbage.
Right there.
I'll wipe my ass with that. That's fine.
I mean, that's fine, bro. Your team's been getting their asses wiped for the past 25, 30 years, so it's fine, bro.
And I'm a Bears fan, unfortunately, for you guys that don't know, so he's not fully wrong.
Yeah.
But you're not. Are you from Wisconsin? Like, why are you?
No, I'm not from Wisconsin. It's just a team I gravitated towards when I first started watching football on my own. Because when I was younger, side note, when I was younger, I had a lot of 49ers gear, which 49ers during the early 90s, they were the team of that era, them and the Cowboys. So I had a lot of 49ers shit, but I didn't watch football that much when I was younger. Then I started watching it as I got older into my preteen and teenage years, and the Packers were the first team I sort of gravitated towards, mainly because of a little quarterback out of Mississippi named Brett Favre.
All right. Gunslinger, so I respect that. You're also a Spurs fan, right? How did that come about?
That you can call me a bandwagon for it. When Tim Duncan that's fine. When Tim Duncan got drafted, I was like, I love this guy's game. Yes, many people may see it as boring. I see it as fully fundamental. I'm not a guy who's ever going to be like super athletic. Like my dad's 5'9", my mom's 5'10", which is weird because my mom's taller than my dad. But I'm never gonna be like this tall, huge guy. So I gravitated towards people who sort of had the fundamentals in check. Because if no one knows, which Shaun, I don't think you know, a lot of my favorite players as I grew up, they weren't the flashiest of players. Like, I was a fan of AI, right? But he's probably the only flashy player. I was also a fan of David Lee, right?
So wait, what? David Lee?
Yes, David Lee. Love this game.
Yeah, you had this weird 2K obsession with David Lee, bro. It's annoying as shit.
Hey,
Oh my
He just
God.
does the right things at the right time. How can you be mad at that, bro?
I forgot about the David Lee era, bro. I'm pissed all over again.
Yeah.
But respect, right, for
James Harden before he became a superstar. Huge fan of him too. So
okay.
It's people who do the right thing, and Tim Duncan was known as the big fundamental for a reason.
Right, and he always did the right thing. What he's got? 4 rings, 5 rings?
5.
5. Okay, bet. That's interesting to know. So let's take sports out of the equation now, right? And let's retouch on episode 1 for a second. So when you introduced yourself, you said you were emotional.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck were you talking about?
Shaun, you know this because I think we brought this up again, and I want to say it was episode 4, 5. Okay. It was episode 5. It was our live episode. I was a guy, again, low self-esteem. A lot of that might spawn from having ADHD when I grew up, but I would, anytime, I would try my best to not get into confrontations, essentially. So instead of sort of firing back at people and trying to make them feel as bad as I feel, I would just go into a sort of shell and just cry. Right? That was the thing I did when I grew up. It was, people. Was
it anger that was building up?
No, it wasn't. It was sadness, true sadness.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of things that I would do is I'd go into a shell and just cry. And I'd usually get people to leave me alone. So that was sort of my thing.
Was this in public or was this in private?
Public.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was always
I didn't know that.
Thing.
Is that still your thing at age 30?
No. I probably do more of the talking about now. But it's more of a defense mechanism because that way I always have something to fire back on. Because it seemed like I got more shit for being the emotional person than I get now for being the guy who will talk shit.
But that's because, do you think it's because, like, as a man, you're supposed to talk shit or you're supposed to want to fight as opposed to being emotional?
It does seem that way, yeah. Seems like that's seen as the more masculine thing to do. Which, for anybody who watches this, don't be afraid to show your emotions. It is important that you don't bottle shit up. It's the same thing we hit on sort of in episode 11. But make sure that if you feel emotional, talk it out. But don't be afraid to let those emotions show.
And it sucks that there's such a negative stigma, again, around that as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you feel like you got to be tough. You got to be the head of the household. You got to not be emotional. But thank you for even sharing that, right? And so then if we're talking about emotion, right, what's the toughest thing you've had to experience in life?
So we're going to go back to 2012. April 21st, Shaun, you were there. You were there at the funeral, but my dad passed on April 21st, 2012. I was 21, and I was at home, hadn't visited him in the hospital because I don't like hospitals. Again, episode 11, you'll see that. I don't like being in hospitals, so I hadn't visited him since, I want to say it was mid or early March. And so I was going to go visit him that day, and then my sister woke me up and told me that my father had passed, and I sat on the couch for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I got right in my car and I went straight to the hospital. I was the first person there at the hospital, in the hospice care, and for about 10 minutes, I sat there in the room talking to my dad.
So I'm sorry that you even had to deal with that shit, bro. I remember, talking about that shit, bro. It was tough. You got through it, right? I'm sure you're even still dealing with some of that shit, like, to this day, right? Because that's something you don't forget, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Thank you for sharing that to the public. How has that affected you since?
Honestly, it makes me care a little bit more about my mom and how she's doing, and making sure that a lot of things she's going through are getting taken care of, because I don't live in the same state as my mom. My mom lives in Florida, so I tend to try my best to talk to all the people who are down there in Florida and make sure that she's doing well, so that she doesn't pass early as well. She's younger than my dad was when he passed, which was 8 years ago. So I want to make sure that she at least makes it to that point, if not further.
And that's fucking amazing, bro. Mm-hmm. So then my question for you would be is, when's the last time you saw your mom, and how's she doing with everything that's going on right now?
Last time I saw her was 2 years ago, which was last time I actually went to Florida. Well, it wasn't the last time I went to Florida. I went to Florida with you too, but it was like 2.5 years ago. I went to Clearwater, which is just a stone's throw from where she lives. So I drove up there, and right now she's doing okay. I don't want to get too far into it because that's her business, and she's dealing with it. But she and my sister are living together now, and she sort of has that support system that I feel she didn't have 5 months ago.
Okay. And I commend you for, again, talking about your personal life and what's going on. Thank you for being vulnerable and open for our audience to see. So let's kind of change the tone to wrap up the conversation. Is you told us a story about how you bit your roommate's calf in college. Do you have another funny drunk story for the people to hear?
I kind of see where you're trying to take this conversation, sir.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Like, you were drinking for over a decade, so maybe you got some other shit. I don't know.
In terms of like just really bad stories that'll interest them, I know. I only have one.
All right.
I'll tell it, sir, since that's clearly the way you want to go with. So we were drinking at my house. This was before I turned 21, by the way.
Of course.
I think you were 21 though at the time. You and Morgan were 21 at the time.
Yeah.
No, this is before your 21st birthday because I remember your 21st birthday was in 2 weeks. I remember that.
Okay, thanks.
So we were drinking at my house. It was me, you. I want to say Lajane might have been there, which is another name that's in the past. Morgan, I want to say Kenny was there. Skylar, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And we were drinking, and Whitney, my friend, who I just saw yesterday in Chicago.
Shout out to Whitney.
Yeah, they were all there, and it got to the point where everybody was leaving, yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. We had been drinking for hours. I don't know the exact amount of time. It was a long time, right? And so everybody leaving, and Whitney didn't have a ride, so I had to take her home. So I took her home. I came back. I got into my garage, and I was like, "Damn, I'm hungry as hell." Right? So first of all, I'm drunk at this time, guys. So just so everybody knows. And so I get in the car. I get back into the car. I drive. I pull out. And I go to the McDonald's, which is 2 or 3 minutes away from where I live, right? I go to the drive-thru. I get my food. I come back, and I'm going through this little windy road, right, in our area, in my area, and I drop my iPod because I'm listening to the tunes, and I wanted to change the song. I dropped the iPod. So instead of what a sober thought would be was like, okay, leave it. You can listen to whatever the hell is going on, and you can be inside your garage, no problem. I instead, as a drunk person, went down to try to grab the iPod off the floor, not slowing down or anything. And I look up. There's a vehicle maybe 3 feet in front of me. Quick swerve to avoid the vehicle, but now I end up into this open field where on one side there's a house on this side, a house on this side, and there's I guess you call it a lagoon directly in front of me. So I'm like, ooh, I'm not going into the lagoon.
Avoid the lagoon, of course.
So I make a quick right. All this while, I'm thinking I'm hitting the brake. I'm not hitting the brake. I'm hitting the accelerator.
Oh, my God.
100% hitting the accelerator. And I end up in the side of someone's house.
You end up where? One more time?
In the side of someone's house.
In the side of someone's house. How sideways did it go from you from there? Did you get arrested?
No.
Did you kill someone?
I didn't kill anyone. Everyone was alive, including myself. I had a little bruise on my knee. That was just about it. But the car was totaled. Shout out to the RPPD. Because they did not give me a ticket.
How did they not give you a ticket for drunkenly hitting the side of a house?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Like, I remember having a conversation with the cop, and he's like, hey, so you told me your brakes weren't working. And that was clearly a lie. Right? But I will give you a ticket for not taking care of your car. But just know, if you fuck up again, we are going to throw the book at you.
You lucky motherfucker.
Right? It's to this day, it is the only positive experience I've ever had with a police officer.
bro. Like I remember when that happened, bro. I was shook that you weren't in jail. I was shook that no one got hurt. You better have thanked the Lord that day.
Oh yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
that is wild. Because I could have went really sideways, bro.
Yeah, it could have. Absolutely, and it didn't. So again, shout out to RPPD for that one.
Facts. Well, let's wrap this up, man. Aaron, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you letting people in to know more about who you are. Again, I'm gonna do this with JV. I'm gonna do one with Mary Claire. Somebody's gonna do one with me. Thank you again, Aaron. I appreciate it. But until next time, Chicago, we're done here. Peace out.
Peace.